Hey folks, so I recently uploaded a video where I taught Dune Imperium by Direwolf, and not too long ago I taught the game Dune, which is most recently published by Gale Force 9. Now, these games are wildly different in terms of gameplay, but because they are both based on the same IP, I feel like they're perfect for a head-to-head matchup. And to avoid confusion, I'll be referring to Dune Imperium as just Imperium, and the Gale Force 9 Dune as GF9. And also, to be clear, I'm talking about this Dune by GF9, not this Dune by GF9, which I haven't played, and I hear is fine. Anyway, I've picked 5 categories, and we're gonna see how these balance out. For me. Anyway, this is purely subjective. Let's get started. I think that the source material is going to be what brings a lot of people to these games, so I want to cover that first. Now, there are a lot of things that could be used to tie in a game, but beyond surface level stuff, I think the real thematic connection comes from the atmosphere. The world of Dune is harsh and unforgiving, and if you want to make a game that feels like that world, it should match. While Imperium does require you to make tough decisions, a mistake in GF9 can be devastating. On top of that, GF9 heavily leans on themes like betrayal and fragile alliances, which are very present in the source material. I don't want it to seem like Imperium's theme is pasted on, because I do think it connects to Dune in important ways, but GF9 really makes you feel like you're part of that world, so it's going to get the first point. Now, a lot of people care about mechanics above all else, but the visuals are not to be ignored, and unfortunately for this matchup, it isn't even close. While I commend GF9 for making their game look better than the original, it's still very brown on beige. And sure, it's a desert planet, I get it, but Imperium was able to take that and throw in splashes of color here and there, just enough to make the board a little more interesting. I also like Imperium's card art a lot more, but that boils down to personal preference. Either way, when it comes to how these games look, Imperium is the clear winner for me. Another fairly easy decision is the complexity. Now, I don't mind a complex game, but unfortunately GF9 is difficult to learn not just because of the rules, because the rulebook is a bit lacking. There's a big FAQ online which covers tons of edge cases and unclear mechanics. Imperium is significantly easier to get started with, and while it also has an FAQ online, it's nowhere near as extensive. Put simply, I haven't played a game of GF9 without having to look something up, whereas I've almost never had to even touch the rulebook during a game of Imperium, so point Imperium. Strategy is going to be the hardest contest to judge, partially because they're such different games, but also because both games handle strategy very well. Imperium forces you to keep your eyes on several different contests. You've got the worker placement side, you've got the deck building side, you have to decide whether to lean towards factions or combat, or try to do both, and your player powers definitely make a difference throughout. GF9, on the other hand, is much more focused on the military side of things, but the depth of that portion of the game is immense. Not only do you have to balance resources, position troops, avoid overextension, and keep perfect timing, you also have to make alliances, or at least agreements with other players, and you have to know whether or not you can trust them when you do. This one is close, but I'm leaning towards GF9, and the tiebreaker is that player interaction. Imperium does have interaction, but GF9's is much more intense. It's the kind of game that will really make you love and hate your friends for what they do, and for me, that's a point in its favor. With everything tied up, it all boils down to replayability. Which one is going to get to my table more often? And I can't even try to bury the lead on this, it's going to be Imperium. While I think that GF9 presents a wonderful, grand experience, most of the time, the length of the game is just a little unreliable. Sometimes a game will take 4+ hours, which is just a little too long for my tastes, TI4 notwithstanding. But then occasionally it'll be done in like 45 minutes, which when you're expecting so much more can be a little disappointing. Imperium, on the other hand, has a much more manageable and reliable experience, and that's true for both the length and the amount of fun it provides. Imperium may not have as high highs, but it certainly doesn't have as low lows either. So with that in mind, I have to give this last point and the overall victory to Dune Imperium. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear how they match up for you. I know I have some die-hard Dune fans in the audience, and I can't wait to hear about how wrong I am. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.